Hi there, everybody. This is Bobby, and I'm here to tell you, grow your own food! Why? Because in the past few decades that we've gone from our homesteading principles to turning our entire nation into a fast food conglomerate, we've not only caused deforestation, climate change, the loss of local business, the inequality of food distribution, waste, packaging. Shall I continue? The loss of our bee population, pesticides, genetically modified organisms. We have heart disease, diabetes, and of course, the fact that 42.5% of all Americans are obese. Well, I'm gonna take you with me, and we're gonna travel out to India to meet up with my friend Bhagwan Singh, who's just your average farmer that most Westerners would probably deem as being poor. But I think once you take a look into his actual daily life, you might start to rethink your views about being poor or rich, as Bhagwan Singh seems to have a pretty vast wealth of happiness just by taking one simple step in growing food with his family, his neighbors, and the entire village around him. Because believe me, ain't nobody going without food in this town. So Bhagwan Singh lives here in Khajuraho, India, a town that once thrived off the tourism industry, but has somehow been left in the dust, bringing many people into poverty. He lives with his wife, Anita, their daughter, Rachna, and son, Asu. I met them my very first day landing into Madhya Pradesh, and almost instantly invited me into their home for chai and thali, which is something that you'll get offered many times traveling through India. And it's a platter of food that includes like a potato curry, dal, rice, chapati, and if you're really lucky, pickled fruit and homemade chutney. Oh, yeah. Oh, and after experiencing such a vast amount of flavors and spices, nothing processed, all grown locally, I had to ask Bhagwan Singh, how does this even happen? Especially when here in America we look at eating vegetarian or vegan or cooking at home as being something expensive, and these people have it readily available all day, every day. Well, as Bhagwan Singh doesn't really speak a bit of English and my Hindi is Tora Tora, meaning pretty much non-existent, I decided to play charades until he could finally figure out that what I wanted was to come see the farm that he had, and he most happily agreed to take me the following morning. Well, I arrived the next morning and of course was greeted by the most delicious chai and breakfast that anybody could ever imagine. We started walking through the most beautifully green fields that were full of plants that produce their sunflower oil and the flour that they need to make their chapati bread. And as we were walking barefoot through these fields, he brought me into an area that needed to be watered for the day. That was his main task of the day. Now mind you, we didn't get out to the farm until about 11 a.m. and this is very common for farmers out that work in the agriculture industry. The mornings are dedicated to helping out with the family at home, and you don't really end up going out to your fields until you feel like it. Now, coming from America, I expected to see a hose or a big water machine type thingy, like what you'd see in the Midwest. But what amazed me was that there was just a big hole in the ground, which turns out was his main water well. But I got a little scared there for a second, thinking that I'm gonna have to keep pulling buckets out of this well all day trying to water each plant individually. Been there, done that. But I guess that was just my American stereotype. I mean, most all of India does have electricity and some minor technology. So to my amazement, all he did was just take a couple unprotected wire cords, stick them together, and boom! All of a sudden, the littlest, tiniest motor of a pump, like smaller than the average microwave, came on, and all of a sudden, water just started flowing out of this makeshift tube that he had coming from the well into the pump, bringing the water up onto the surface. Okay, but we have water, but there's also a lot of land, so how do you get the water to where it needs to be? Well, once again, before I was finished asking myself my own question, Bhagwan Singh was straight down on his hands and knees, creating these little moats that would guide the water exactly where it needed to be. So if one section had already been watered the day before, or vice versa, he would build a little moat of dirt so that the water would just keep going down the channel that it needed to get to areas that were hundreds of yards away from where this motor and pump were located. And after we played in the water for a little bit, Bhagwan Singh brought me off to the side, and he sort of had a look that was a bit more sad. And he started explaining to me through charades, and what I got out of it was that India, the entire country, is experiencing such a shortfall of water and rain because of climate change. Where they once used to have a reliable rainy season and typhoon season that would bring the majority of their water, it's irregular, it's unreliable. You never know how much rain you're gonna get or how much water there is. So everything's basically drying up, including the wells and some of the most beautiful places that used to be lush and full of life. But before I could start crying my eyes out because climate change is devastating so many different parts of our world, Bhagawan Singh came over and said to me, "Kana, kana, dost, dost." And from my little knowledge of Hindi, I gathered that it was food, food, and friend, friend. And I said, yes, yes. And boy, oh boy, was that an experience. So he hopped on his bike and he brought us right over to one of his neighbors' homes, who is also a farmer. And as we were greeted so delightfully upon arriving to his gate, our friend decided to just show us around his whole property, where he grows all of the most beautiful, colorful, and completely organic vegetables that we were able to just take right from the ground and bring over, because that was the food that we were going to eat for our midday meal. And now, mind you, it's maybe about 1:00 p.m. at this point, and apparently to the farmers in India, 1:00 is a pretty good time for a little chai, some relaxation, and some great conversations with your friends and loved ones.
Yes.
I played with their animals. We just enjoyed each other's company while our friend was over there making this completely homemade meal right from scratch, right before my very eyes. And that took a little bit of effort. But to them, it's just a regular day. I mean, we probably sat there for about 2 full hours just making this meal, chit-chatting, resting, enjoying each other's company. And that to me is a vital part of life. To not be so stressed out, to be able to take the time to enjoy your day, to enjoy the people around you. And no, they might not have a mansion or a BMW or this or that, but those things are all material in the first place, and exactly why we are struggling as a world right now anyways. And maybe that's our problem in Western culture, is that we view things like food as a means of self-pleasure rather than as nourishment for our souls. And we've lost this connection to the land, which has led us to lose this connection with ourselves and our spirits and the lives that are lost because we live this way. And maybe, just maybe, if we started to view the world with a little bit more of a socio-spiritual approach, one where we respected Mother Nature and the animals and ourselves, that maybe we might actually be able to change the world by making just one simple decision: to grow your own food! So simple. Yet people make it so freaking difficult.
Hi. My name is Maeva, I'm French, and I'm 23 years old, and I believe that veganism can save the world, and I also believe in gender equality. Amen. Think about that.
As we are literally 12 years away from a potential irreversible, climate catastrophe, right? So
so
we
true.
need to act so fast, and one of the main ways we can do that is by eliminating animals from our diet, which will reduce our total greenhouse gas emissions rapidly, and then in turn we can prevent the unnecessary suffering and exploitation and death of 56 billion lives every single year.
Yes.
Isn't that-
Oh no, okay. Hi, I'm Marike, I'm from Berlin and I believe in a world without plastic.
Question then, do you believe that the countries, like our bigger countries like the US, the UK, Australia, Canada, all of these places, do you think that we can start working together towards making these changes that we need in this generation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.